begin? We're all looking for the promised land. And in the end, we just need someone to hold our hands. Everybody needs some kind of refuge, something to run to, someone who loves you. I'll be the light guiding you through the night when the stars just refuse to shine. And I'll be your shelter, that safe place to hide, your sanctuary.
Hi there. So I'm Jasmine. Welcome to my very first episode of my podcast. It is called Everybody is an Addict. And what I do is I have guests come on that are either in active addiction, they've been affected by somebody's addiction, they're in early recovery, or they've been recovered for a while. And the purpose of this is to try to take the stigma out of the word addict and bring more understanding to people who maybe don't know what addiction truly is. And I'm hoping that these stories also inspire people who are struggling in their own lives with their own problems and addiction. And hopefully it helps them to maybe walk through that door in an AA meeting or a methadone clinic and take that first step, because it's scary, but maybe by hearing some other people and what they've been through, you'll be able to find some hope. So that is what is the general idea of my podcast. And today I have my very first guest. He is somebody who has been through a tremendous amount in his life and has a very colorful and very inspiring story. So I'm going to welcome Kyle McConnell to the podcast, and I'm going to let him kind of start off by telling a bit of his story, and we'll go from there. Is that okay, Kyle?
Sure is. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
Hi there.
Oh, right, there we go. Well, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to start by saying thank you for doing something like this. I mean, I know my first steps through the RAM clinic doors were definitely scary ones, but thank God I took them because it was life-changing. That was over 3 years ago now. So yeah, this is good to get out as much awareness as you can into, addiction.
Well, being somebody who has had two addictions that I've had to overcome myself, I understand how scary that is to take the first step, and how proud I am of you for being able to do that, and it clearly was able to help you in your life, and going through this and not knowing you're not alone. So I'll let you keep talking. I just wanted to say I know exactly what you mean by walking through those doors.
Yeah. But I have several addictions, probably more than I could count. The one I just can't seem to kick for sure. But I was a roughly 8 year opiate addict, and the majority of those 8 years went by without anybody in my life really knowing. It was kind of a functioning addict type situation, and for the longest time, I didn't think there was really anything wrong with it. I was prescribed by a doctor, just Percocets daily for knee pain. I'd gone in for knee surgery back in, I'd say 2012, I think, 2012 or 2013. And coming out of that surgery, I was prescribed Percocets, just a couple a day, and that went on for several years, the better part of a decade. And then eventually doctors started cracking down on what they were prescribing, and my doctor actually retired, and so I got a new doctor, and they were very anti opiate prescription, and they decided that they were just going to cut me off completely, and that's when I started to look other places to get my fix, because anybody who's been in an addictive opiates or any other drug really knows that withdrawal is probably the scariest thing you can go through. Um, Nothing feels worse. You just feel like a bag of trash, and it feels like it'll never end. So in order to avoid that sickness, I would kind of do anything I could to find my fix and make sure I didn't have to feel that way. And then going through all the channels and finding people that you really think you can trust but you shouldn't trust. Wound up getting a bad batch of some of that street fenny, as they call it. And I guess a long story short, I really only did the fentanyl thing for about a month. Other than that, it was always just oxycodone in whatever form I could find, from 80 milligrams to 20 milligrams to the 5 milligram Percocets. Anything I could find, I would be good with. But then even those sources started to dry up, so I went and I guess ventured down the path to see what fentanyl was really like, what the hype was, and for about a month, it was something like that. That's some powerful shit, man.
I agree. I've
But
done that drug myself, and it is a whole new ball game. And the thing with opiates too is they're way more expensive than the fentanyl. So, sometimes it's also you get into it because it's harder to afford the oxy than it is the fentanyl. And the fentanyl, like you said, is not always proper, and you can't always trust the people you get it from. So I see where that can be not very good.
it's a mixed bag. You don't know what chemist is doing what you're gonna get in terms of one pressed pill to the next, or one Brock to the next. You never know what the hell you're gonna get with that stuff, and who's making it. God knows. But yes, the last batch that I ever did was the last batch I ever did. Um, I was on my way to work and only made it about a block or two up the road when um, the fentanyl that I was doing caused me to have, I guess, what they call the widowmaker heart attack, and crashed the car just 2 blocks from the house. And I didn't think I was having a heart attack or anything. I didn't really think anything was really wrong. I just kind of, I guess, nodded out. I don't know what happened. Next thing I knew, the airbags were off, and I had a telephone pole in my lap. And then walked back to the house and took a shower. And then the next thing I remember from there was waking up in the emergency room for a brief second, and just doctors around me. I think my sister was there for a little bit. It was so fuzzy. I don't really remember too much of what happened that day. And then I was in the hospital for 5 days. But I'd say the first 2 days of that were straight cold turkey. Not the doctors weren't giving me anything in terms of opiates or for withdrawal. And for 2 straight days, I laid there just honestly wanting to die, but knowing there was still something to live for, being my family back at home with the 2 little ones and the wife. I knew that I couldn't stop fighting, and I knew right then and there that was the end for what I was going to do with. In terms of opiates, I was never going to go back to that. Little did I know that the most life-saving thing out there is actually suboxone, which I'm still on to date, but a very, very light, mild dose now. But those first 2 days, I'm telling you, they were like two of the worst. I can't describe ever having felt worse. It was just 2 days strictly from the ferry from hell. After that, it kind of eased up a little bit, but the withdrawal symptoms didn't truly go away until I took the steps through the Ram Clinic door in downtown Brantford, and they put me on Suboxone almost right away. And well, there was an ER doctor that actually prescribed. They gave me Suboxone first, But yeah, that place definitely I owe my life to for sure. And since it's been about 3.5 years, almost 4 years now, I think it was the May 24 weekend of 2021 that the heart attack and the car crash happened. Um, yeah, since then I've been in active recovery, and anybody who has any negative feelings towards suboxone, I would highly hope that they reach out and get some education and talk to whoever they can about it, because it's life changing, life saving medication. Even if I was on it for the rest of my life, I'm okay with a small dose of that every day. That doesn't make me feel high. I don't feel any form of negative negative symptoms from it. Um, I can go 2 or 3 days without it until I really start to feel crappy again. But yeah, that it's game changing for anybody who's struggling and worried about the sickness, because it takes away those sickness symptoms. It takes away that craving, that urge to get your drugs again. Um, of course, if you don't have it after a few days, then you're going to go right back into that withdrawal. But yeah,
I agree with that. With
I
like,
mean,
I'm on boxing too, so I agree with you 100%. It's life saving, and they offer you methadone, but methadone, I took methadone and I never been higher, and I did fentanyl. So methadone is just another addiction creating drug, where Suboxone, it blocks the receptors in your brain. So if you were to take an opiate, you won't get high from it. So it really keeps you from getting you can't get high. So there's no point. It's a drug that I feel like not everybody really knows about, but it is life changing. And like you said, it takes away the withdrawals, which is every addict's biggest fear, is dealing with the withdrawals, because like you said, it is hell on earth. But
yeah,
yeah,
nobody wants to go through that sickness. If you could, I think almost every addict would say that if they didn't have to go through the sickness part of getting sober, they'd already be sober. I think that's probably the number one thing that scares people off from taking the plunge and trying to get out of that lifestyle. Um, it it's just incredible how well it works. So an ER doctor that actually first gave me Suboxone when I was in the ER. Uh, oh God, it was he had given me she asked me if I was ready to change my life, and I said, I don't really know what you mean, but I'm done with all the opiates. I don't want to wind up back in a hospital. I don't want to have another another episode. Right when I get out of here, I want to go to the nearest addictions medicine clinic that I can find, and I want to try to get this all going. And she's like, okay, well, are you ready to feel the worst feeling you're ever gonna feel? And I said, okay. And she shot me with the Narcan spray. And she's like, now I'm gonna put you into what was it? Active aggressive withdrawal, or yeah, I can't remember the wording that she used, but it was immediate withdrawal symptoms that came on like within 3 to 4 minutes of her giving me that Narcan spray. And she's like, here, you're gonna feel pretty shitty soon. And she walked away, and I'm kind of sitting there going, I don't know what oh my God. Oh my God. And then I started to get really cold, shaky, clammy. I wanted to throw up. She left me sitting like that for about a half an hour, and I was just wrapped in blankets and I couldn't get warm. Nothing seemed to be working. And she came up to me and she's like, are you ready to change your life now? I said, yeah, whatever you can give me to make me feel better. Like, I felt so shitty. And she's like, here, open up. And she dropped 2 little tablets of Suboxone, 2 milligram tablets each. So it was only 4 milligrams. And my current dose 3 years later is only 2 milligrams a day. She dropped those 2 tablets on my tongue. She's like, let them dissolve in your mouth, under your tongue, whatever. Just don't swallow them right away. Let them dissolve. And I'll come back and see you in a little bit. And I swear, hand to God, no more than 10 minutes later, all withdrawal symptoms gone, all sickness gone. I threw off the blankets, sprung up like a bat out of hell, and I was like, I'm ready to go. All right, let's get the hell out of here. And she came by and she's like, wow, you look like a different person. I'm like, I feel like a different person. Whatever the hell you gave me is the miracle cure for any withdrawal symptoms that anybody could ever feel. And she's like, that's gonna be what changes your life, and it's gonna save your life, because if you just take this every day for the foreseeable future, you can wean down gradually, work with whatever clinic you want to go to, and you'll wind up finding you're on a very small dose down the road, and maybe you stay on it forever, maybe you wean off that too. But either way, taking this little bit of Suboxone is definitely better than taking handfuls of Percocets or just other copious amounts of opiates every day and killing your liver, killing the rest of your body, potentially having another heart attack. The doctors told me when I was in the hospital that if I were to take opiates again, I would probably have a heart attack. So, and a lot of people don't really know that about opiates, that they can give you a heart attack. Like, they know that it can stop your breathing and it affects your respiratory system, but for it to have caused that much damage to my heart over the years and years of use, it was something so unexpected. I did not expect to have a myocardiac infarction at age 32 or 31 or whatever it was. And that was a big, huge wake up call. Like, you're killing yourself with this shit. Like, stop. Thank God for that ER doctor, and thank God for Suboxone.
And I also think, like, I love that you said that initially it was the doctors that prescribed it to you for your knee, and they never thought to wean you off of it. Instead, they just take it away, and immediately you're going to go into withdrawal. And I don't know why doctors do that, because it causes so many people to have addictions that they never even wanted in the first place. They had a surgery, they had cancer, anything really. And like, I even had a friend who had a skin graft, and they overdosed him in the freaking ER because they gave him so much medication for his pain. But when he left, they never weaned him down. And it's the same thing, right? And then all of a sudden you feel like you're dying because of the withdrawal. I know that feeling too. So I think that's why I like to say that everybody has an addiction, because you could be anybody. It doesn't matter. You could have been the top lawyer in Canada, hurt your knee, and became addicted to opiates. It doesn't matter who you are. It's gonna happen because of what happened to you. It's not like you just sought out the opiates because you wanted to get high. You sought them out because you were in pain, and they didn't help you. Like, they didn't educate you about it either, which is another thing, right? So you're so lucky to be alive, and if you had perished, it would have been their fault, because the doctors didn't help you. And thank God you walked through the clinic doors where the addiction doctors are smart enough to help you. It's a totally different. The doctors in an addiction clinic are totally different than family doctors, and they explain things, and they explain what's prescribed, and they explain the feelings of everything and why they're giving it to you, where a doctor doesn't do that, and then you end up having these problems later down the line, because it's not just opiates that are addictive. Like, there's also mental health drugs, because it's in your system. If you take it away right away, you're going to go through withdrawal no matter what drug it is. And that's how people end up addicts. And that's basically kind of the point of what I wanted to share on this podcast. So I love what you said, because it really is what I wanted to get across to people, is that it was not your intent to be an addict. It was not like you did it on your own free will. You hurt yourself, you were prescribed something, and they did not help you taper off of it. They just took it away. And what else can you do? You don't want to feel like crap. And you also, it is a little bit scary to go to a clinic, especially when you're new to just going through that withdrawal process, like it's like the first time you go through it, you're not like, I'm going to go to the methadone clinic, right? It takes a while for you have to have something happen to you to make you really realize what's going on, because you can take that medication and be functional. Like nobody, like you said, nobody even knew, because it wasn't like it was something that was like affecting you to a degree of ruining your life, right? So it's so important to understand that. And there could be people that even you work with that sit next to you that could have the exact same issue. You wouldn't even know. And that's
No, you have no
it.
idea.
Yeah, you have no idea. And like being functional and being able to hold your job and having a decent job and nobody knowing about it, it's just, I feel there's so many more people out there like that. And what happened to you is so scary, because like you said, I didn't know that it could cause heart problems either, right? So there's just so much to it, especially with opiates, because there was a time where they were just handing them out, and now they're just taking them away, but they're not helping people taper off of them, which there's guides, and like there's something called the Ashton method, and it is the way of tapering off of addictive medication. And doctors are supposed to use that for people on that medication, but the only doctors that actually use it are the ones that are specialized in addiction, which isn't fair, because your family doctor before they retired should have tried to help you. Instead they didn't, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of newer doctors, like the replacement doctor that I got in my family clinic, was not a new doctor. They weren't fresh out of med school. But I think a lot of the doctors that are coming fresh out of med school, and resident doctors and stuff that sit in at clinics, they do have more of a focus and push in their education on how to deal with the opiate crisis, because it's gotten so bad. So I think now there are some of the newer doctors that have more to pay more attention to that sort of thing, and they would know. Hopefully they begin to help people wean off of things instead of just cut them off. Because yeah, you could, like I said, 8 years of my life where nobody, like, other than people in my very, very, very close circle that I'd known for most of my life, actually ever had a clue that I was taking anything. And it wasn't a problem until it became a problem. And then you just kind of suffer in silence, and you're going down the wrong path, going using the wrong channels to try to solve your problem. But also, like, I didn't have any education on suboxone or methadone or any of those things before. Like when I was prescribed the drugs, I nobody'd ever told me how to get off them. They didn't explain that those resources were as easily and readily available as they are. And then just all I really seen in the hospital in terms of help for recovering opiate addicts was this small little one-sided pamphlet that had the address and the phone number to the rapid addictions medicine clinic that I spoke about, the RAM clinic. And I'm glad I followed it, but it seemed so low budget, and like nobody cared. It was just kind of this lady came in and threw this pamphlet at me and said, "Have a nice life." So I'm glad I picked up the phone and scheduled an appointment. And you don't even have to schedule an appointment with a clinic like that. You can just walk in, and their intake process is pretty quick. And for the first few months, you do have to go every day, and you have to make sure that you're testing. They'll do urine tests every day to make sure that you're keeping your system clean, and you're not just trying to sell the addiction medicine on the streets or anything. But after a little while, they start to trust you, and you get carries, and it becomes kind of a regular, just a regular routine and part of your life that is so much better than the alternative. So, if I really hope that anybody who's struggling and thinking about it, just if it's been on your mind to quit and you don't know what to do, just visit one of those places. Just pick up the phone, look online. They're all over the place, especially in Brantford where I live. They're it's they're on every street corner it seems downtown. And because the opiate crisis is so widespread here, there is a lot of them. But I know in every major city, even smaller cities, there's several addiction clinics that will take care of you, and it does seem pretty intimidating at first. There's a lot of people in there that may not be, the you know upper class citizens, but they're just they're trying to get help too. So it may seem like it's a place you don't belong. You may feel like this place scares the hell out of me because some of these some of these people are terrifying. Sometimes they're unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do, but I don't know. Nothing bad is going to happen in terms of your own health and safety, except for when you do get in those doors, getting better, hopefully pointing your life in the right direction.
Well, I really agree, and I really enjoyed, like, not enjoyed, but I really got a lot out of what you had to say, and I think the viewers would agree. And it is a story of hope, and it's a story of resilience. I mean, you had a heart attack, like, people this young, that's just terrifying. And just having to go through all of that, knowing that your family's out home and you don't know what to do, and being strong enough to walk through those doors. I remember being the first time going myself, just sitting in the chair in withdrawal, shaking, 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 shaking. And then they finally gave me this suboxone, and I felt so much better. And I would just like a cat. I would go every day when the pharmacy would open, and I'd be like scratching at the door like a cat, waiting for them to open so I could get my suboxone because I was sick. And eventually, obviously, your body gets used to it and you get on the right dose and you don't act like that. But yeah, no, Suboxone is a miracle drug. Do not take methadone. That is my advice. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go?
Um, I wish I could reach out and help more people. I'd love to post my phone number at the bottom of the screen or contact information, but I would definitely talk to anybody who is even contemplating it or struggling with any problems now. Or I'm looking forward to future podcasts of yours to hopefully hear some stories of success and people in different stages of their recovery or addictions. And I mean, not every addiction's a bad addiction, right? So, um, yeah, thanks for having me on, and hope the best for your podcast. I know this is episode 1, so good luck in the future.
Well, thanks for being my first guest. And yeah, I probably will bring you back on, you know, um, because I kind of want to, see maybe what your perspective is after hearing a few other people talk too, right? Maybe you may be able to make some connections with some people if they're reaching out for help. I can always connect them with you and stuff. So I'll definitely be in contact. I'll probably bring you back on because, yeah, like I said, you have so much to offer to people that are not educated on this stuff because they don't educate us on this stuff. So again, thank you so much for being my first guest. I appreciate it. And I know the viewers are going to get so much out of your story. So thank you again. Um, and yeah, thank you everybody who is listening today. And again, thank you, Kyle, for sharing your story. And this is Everybody Has an Addiction by Jasmine Boodle. And I will be posting podcasts probably once or twice a week, just for people to share their stories and get this message out there, because in certain cities it is such a big problem that people walk down the street smoking meth and it's like nothing. And you see people passed out and you don't even think anything of it because you see it all the time. And so I just want to bring more awareness that they are people and they have reasons for why they're in this position. And like you were prescribed it by a doctor, and that's why it led to that. Unlike me, who was an alcoholic and was just using it to cope, same with the opiates. I wasn't prescribed any of that. I was trying to get high. You weren't, and you just weren't educated. So I like that you were able to explain that and share that with us. So thank you, and thank you, everybody. We will see you probably in a couple of days with another story. So yeah, have a nice day. Thanks, everybody.